The Chevauchées was a form of military raid employed by both English and French forces during the Hundred Years' War, 1337 to 1453, characterized by swift, destructive cavalry raids aimed at terrorizing the enemy's countryside, disrupting their economy and weakening their resolve. The first Chevauchées were conducted in the early phases of the war, setting the tone for future raids and shaping the tactics of the conflict. These raids were designed to inflict psychological and material damage on the enemy, rather than simply achieving territorial gains through traditional battles. Origins and early raids. The Chevauchées tactic emerged as part of the English strategy to harass and weaken the French war effort without engaging in protracted sieges or battles. Edward III of England recognized the importance of disrupting French agriculture and supply lines, as well as demoralizing the civilian population. These raids were particularly effective in the early stages of the war, as France had fewer resources and defensive structures in place to counter the swift cavalry strikes. The first major Chevauchées took place in the mid-1330s, with English forces raiding French territories in an effort to exert control and inflict economic damage. These early raids were launched primarily in northern France, targeting towns, villages, and farmland. Notable early Chevauchées. 1. The 1337 Chevauchées, the Raid of Normandy. Edward III led an early Chevauchées into Normandy in 1337, where his forces raided towns, burned crops, and captured livestock. This raid disrupted the French economy and sent a clear message that England would use its mobility and tactical advantages to strike at French territories. 2. The 1340 Chevauchées, the Raid of the Loire. One of the most significant early Chevauchées took place in 1340, when English forces, led by Edward III, raided deep into the Loire Valley. The raid was part of a larger strategy to weaken French defenses and disrupt their economy. The English inflicted considerable damage, burning towns and taking plunder back to England. 3. The 1346 Chevauchées, the Raid before Crécy. Before the pivotal Battle of Crécy, 1346, Edward III conducted another Chevauchées, this time through northern France and Picardy, to divert French attention and resources away from his main army. The raid severely damaged French infrastructure and made it harder for the French to maintain their defensive positions during the upcoming battle. Tactics and impact. The Chevauchées was characterized by its speed, surprise, and the use of cavalry. English knights and archers would sweep through enemy territories, burning crops, looting towns, and capturing prisoners. The raids targeted key resources, such as food stores, livestock, and towns that could support the French military. The psychological impact of these raids was significant. Civilians were often terrorized. Towns were left in ruins, and French morale was deeply affected. The raids also disrupted French supply lines, making it difficult for the French military to sustain their forces during the war. The legacy of the first Chevauchées. The success of the first Chevauchées demonstrated the effectiveness of hit-and-run tactics and the ability of English forces to conduct warfare without engaging in direct battles. The raids made it clear that traditional siege warfare was not the only way to inflict damage on the enemy. While the French would later adapt to these tactics, the first Chevauchées set the stage for a war of attrition, where both sides would continue to rely on swift cavalry raids and guerrilla-style tactics throughout the 100 Years' War. The Chevauchées would remain a key feature of English strategy throughout the conflict, notably influencing the later raids conducted during the war. In sum, the first Chevauchées were crucial in establishing early English dominance in the conflict, shaping military tactics and demonstrating the importance of economic warfare in the 100 Years' War.